Hey guys, welcome to the show. Got a great one lined up for you today. If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. And we got a great panel with us today. Hey, somebody snuck in here. How's it going out there? The beautiful Betty Van Velsen. How's it going, Betty?
Yeah, great. It's a little bit rainy outside. We had lots of beautiful weather. Also on King's Day yesterday. But now it's a bit rainy, but we need the rain. Yeah.
So no midget golf?
No, because then the planes are going wet, right? Get wet feet.
The planes are being wet? What?
Yeah, the way where you play the miniature golf at.
Oh,
right?
I got you. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know how to call that. These fields. What do you call that? The lanes? What is it?
The midget golf fields?
Yeah. Do they have fields or
Hole.
lanes? What is it?
It's called a hole.
Yeah, but that's just part of it, isn't it?
Oh, you played the first hole, the second hole. The hole that is called a hole.
You're
It's
talking
just
about
one part of it.
All the holes together are called a course.
Oh, okay. Oh, that sounds more reasonable. The course. Okay. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Adam, sir, how are you?
I'm brushing up on the finer points of midget golf.
No.
But, busy, mate. Busy, you know. It's all this nonsense being over, so I can have a rest and have to leave my house.
What's up, Adam?
Evening, boss.
You see my message on Skype?
Wait, I didn't wait a second. I didn't
shut the hell
introduce
up.
you yet.
You don't need to. He knows who I am.
Oh man.
I got I may as well reply, otherwise you carry on, Nick. Right, I got a reply saying your email wouldn't accept it. I'd sent you another one just saying, have you received the email? But I've not had anything back or a failure notice for that yet.
If you send it to the Planeta Veritas 4.0 at Proton, there's actually an intrusion detection system connected with that, and if it had a virus to it, it rejected it. That's probably why I couldn't get it uploaded onto my system from Skype.
Cool.
I could view it, but I couldn't download it because of the security I have on my system.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Robert Bassano. How's it going today, Robert?
Oh, it's fantastic. The sun is out. I went outside and went for a walk, let the light shine down on my bald head. And yeah, man. The wind was a nice little breeze going. The weather's beautiful. Everyone should be outside. Fuck what the government is telling everyone.
Thanks,
That's how I
Robert.
feel
That
about
was
it.
lovely.
Yeah,
Nathan.
man, it is. You should go outside too. You kind of pale, don't you think?
All right, put a cork in it. Nathan, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
How's everything in the land down under? Oh, you're in England. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's good. Everything's good. Can't complain. I could complain, but I'm not going
to. That's fun. I could complain, but I'm just not.
So, welcome, Mike Discipline. Welcome to the show, guys. This is going to be about the hillbilly blue balls, the redneck retard. So, let me show you who we're talking about here. That's
We're getting a special first.
That's not it. Oh, wait, go ahead, Adam.
Weren't you giving us a little gamble first? You said you had something else for you.
Yeah, I got a teaser coming up, but just be patient. It's coming.
Calm. All right.
I just want to show the audience that what this is going to be about today. It's going to be about hillbilly blue balls, the redneck retard right here. He had a debate not that long ago against Brian's logic, and we're going to go through that debate here today. So I just want to let everyone know who we're talking about. Is that okay?
Can I shout out the super chat that was posted before the show started?
Please.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It's a super chat from GK, and he said, or she, I don't know. Just watched your explanation of this double slit quantum eraser, and my mind is gravy. Thank you so much, Kiwi. I don't know if that's for real or that it is sarcastically meant, but
His
we'll see.
mind's gravy?
Yeah, gravy. Like yeah. I don't think that's a good thing then, right?
What in the world? All right. So we're going to kick it off today. This is going to go pretty much like the last show did with going through audio because we want to hear the words that are coming out of their mouths, right? So I'll give you a little teaser of the show. Let me roll that beautiful bean footage. Here we go. Mic discipline, please.
This is what a fair platform looks like.
Okay. What does atmo mean?
What does atmo mean?
Yes,
You don't know what atmo means? Or you?
I do.
Yeah,
Trying to
that
figure out if I
yeah,
know what it means? Don't play games around. Just go on with.
yeah. Let's go, please. Let's try to kind of.
I'm not. No, this
No,
is important.
wait, Brian. Wait,
This is
Brian.
important.
It's important, but if you're gonna ask a question of an answer that you know, is no. There's not gonna be nothing that we're gonna learn new. If you don't know what an answer to a question is, then ask it. But if you know the answer, why to play these little gacha moments? Let's try to really try to progress and move on, please.
Carbon dioxide. What is that?
This is what a fair platform looks like.
Okay. What does atmo mean?
What does atmo mean?
Yes,
You don't know what atmo means? Or you?
I do.
Yeah,
Trying to figure out if I know what it means? Don't play games around. Just go on with.
yeah. Let's go, please. Let's try to kind of.
I'm not. No, this is important.
Wait, Brian.
This is important.
It's important, but if you're gonna ask a question of an answer that you know, is no. There's not gonna be nothing that we're gonna learn new. If you don't know what an answer to a question is, then ask it. But if you know the answer, why to play these little gacha moments? Let's try to really try to progress and move on, please.
Carbon dioxide. What is that?
This is what a fair platform looks like.
So this is a fair platform, eh? When Brian asks a question that Brian clearly knows the answer to, and the hillbilly retard doesn't, you come tripping over your clown shoes to save him, and then admonish him for asking a question that he already knew the answer to, but clearly the redneck retard didn't, so you had to come save him. Now, the redneck retard asks, what is carbon dioxide? The answer to which he clearly knew, and you do absolutely nothing. Yeah, sounds fair to me. Do you reminisce with complete strangers? So, that's the teaser. It's going to be rip-roaring, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, what a moron. It's a fair platform. What do you think about that fair platform? Don't all jump in at once.
Oh, we didn't know whether it was rhetorical or not.
Yeah, we were sort of apprehensive about it.
It wasn't rhetorical. You can comment if you'd like.
Yeah, so he's stepping in when someone wants to be having sort of a conversation and know what atmo means, because just to see if the guy knows what he's talking about, and then the other guy does thing, but it's just being corrected, and that's a fair platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe on that side of the argument it is, but here wouldn't fly, I think.
Yeah, well, it's just said. I have a fair platform. It's just a fair platform. That thinks it covers them. That means it has a fair platform. That's like these people that do these debunk videos. Well, just because the video says it's debunked, whatever they're talking about, then these morons think it's debunked. Just because somebody said it's debunked. It doesn't work that way. There's got to be some cowbell to support it, not just words.
I'm sure it's a quote from like some lawyer movie or something, but you never ask a question to which you don't already know the answer. Obviously, he's posing a question, as he called it, to gotcha him. But the gotcha is not like a win for a poignant moment or a laugh. It's a win in terms of a demolition of the heliocentric religion. But they just boil that down to being a gotcha? Like, no, Atmo, I don't even know what the argument is, but I know where it's going. Atmo, being atmosphere, will be described as not being the same as gas. That's what the argument will be. And presumably Brian's then gone, well, what does Atmo mean? So he can have his opponent, who's saying atmosphere is not air, say that Atmo means air, so that it draws a close to that conversation. But rather than that, suddenly that's a gotcha? Well, no, it's just a win for Brian that's been obfuscated for some reason.
Well, but he doesn't do the same thing with the redneck retard when he says, what is carbon dioxide? It's the same thing. He clearly knows the answer to it, right? So Jose doesn't come tripping all over himself in the same situation, right? Do you find it strange that somebody asks you questions that they have the answers to? This has happened to me most of my life. Did you graduate high school? Or going to university? Have you heard? Hold on, Arwen. Have you heard of a test? You see, what happens in a test, the professors know the answers to the question, right? But they ask you what it is. Why? So they can evaluate your knowledge of the subject. I know it's shocking. You friggin' bumbling bozo, you. Unbelievable. Yep. That was my teaser. But we're going to get headlong into this, man. Go ahead, Arwen. You didn't have an introduction. Go ahead and move on out. What's up?
Right. Yeah, sorry for bumping in there, but yeah, I do agree with you, but you know, Jose, he is self-admittedly a YouTube host. So he hosts these guys and he's admitted personally, like, yeah, I'm just basically improvising here. I can't manage to get a full oversight. So yeah, he's been honest about it at least. And yeah, whatever these ballers do, you know, they get so psychotic over the place. It's yeah. So he's gonna be subjected to that, and just try to make some kind of sense of it, and try to move on with whatever he's trying to present. But you gotta take into account that he doesn't really have the faculties, admittedly, to deal with all this craziness.
Yeah, you haven't given him the moron allowance.
My word. All right, guys, we're going to get on with this. So remember Mike discipline. We're going to go through these sections much like we did the last time. And I'll have breaks in between. I'll let you know for your comments. It would be a good idea if you had something to write your comments down on, because we're going to go through a few sections at a time so you won't forget. All right. Betty, any admin before we begin?
Nope. Nothing. You can begin.
All right, here we go.
Well, Brian, I wondered if maybe we could go through a few things and see what we agree on. Let's start with this. Do you agree with Newton's first law, the law of inertia, that says?
Go on. Sorry, I got down on you now.
Yeah, it's a body at rest or moving in a straight line at a constant speed is going to remain at rest or moving in that straight line at that constant speed, unless it's acted on by a force. Do you agree with that? Well, Brian, I wondered if maybe we could go through a few things and see what we agree on. Let's start with this. Do you agree with Newton's first law, the law of inertia, that says?
Go on. Sorry, I got down on you now.
Yeah, it's a body at rest or moving in a straight line at a constant speed is going to remain at rest or moving in that straight line at that constant speed, unless it's acted on by a force. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, more. Do you agree with that? So, no marbles. Do you agree with Newton's first law, the law of inertia? Do you agree with that? Nope. Number one, you yourself consider the Newtonian law a science. Therefore, agree and disagree has nothing to do with this discussion because it's subjective opinion. Actual science is purely objective, empirical. So essentially, it's a non sequitur fallacy right out of the gate. Number two, not only is Newton's first law bunk, all of Newton's laws, that is classical mechanics, are demonstrated poppycock bollocks. This was established nearly 100 frigging years ago. From Richard Feynman. The discovery of quantum mechanics first, and then in the behavior of light, and then in the behavior of matter, finally culminating in 1926 with a full equation of quantum mechanics, which told us that the laws of motion of Newton were not right. Let me say that again. The laws of motion of Newton were not right. From Professor Shankar, Chair, Professor of Physics at Yale. That is the end of Newtonian physics. From your alma mater wiki, Newton's classical mechanics. That's everything. That's the universal law of gravitation and all of his laws of motion, by the way. Newton's classical mechanics were superseded in the early 20th century when Albert Einstein developed the special and general theory of relativity. Now, I know you have a problem with the word superseded and the word and is. Let's go through it step by step. From Cambridge Dictionary, supersede, to replace something, especially something older or more old-fashioned. From Merriam-Webster, to cause to be set aside. To force, now the irony, to force out of use as inferior. Number two, to take the place of or position of. Number three, to displace in favor of another. You get it? Superseded. Oh, and by the way, from Caltech, Professor Jacob Bekenstein. Also, Einstein replaced the Newtonian law of motion by the statement that free test particles move along geodesics, the shortest curves in space-time geometry. So no, we don't agree.
And Newton's second law of motion is just the one everybody's heard a million times. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. Do you have any problem with that? And Newton's second law of motion is just the one everybody's heard a million times. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. Do you have any problem with that?
And just like the last iteration with Professor Bell, folks, I'm going to play these twice. The short ones, I'm going to play them twice in succession. So if there's any misunderstanding about what he said first, then it'll clarify itself in the second one. The little bit longer ones, I'll let you know that I won't play again. Okay, no marbles. F equals MA. You have any problem with that? Yeah. Classical mechanics, Newtonian mechanics is demonstrated bunk. See directly above. We just went over it.
Okay, matter is pretty much a synonym for mass. Okay, matter is pretty much a synonym for mass.
You sure about that? Matter, no marbles. Matter is pretty much a synonym for mass. Yes, and Pocahontas was actually Elmer Fudd in drag and was responsible for the Tet Offensive. Let's compare and contrast. From Anne-Marie Helmstein, PhD, Biomedical Sciences, matter. In science, matter is the term for any type of material. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. From their alma mater wiki, mass. Mass is both a property of a physical body and a measure of its resistance to acceleration, a change in its state of motion when a net force is applied. So, they're not synonymous. From Bygist.com, chemistry. Let's take a look at this now. Remember, we're working within the BallTARD paradigm. So within those boundaries, some of these definitions and juxtapositions are wrong, but you got to remember, like I said, we got to stay with what they're talking about. Okay? So let's take a look at this. The difference between mass and matter. He said they were synonymous, which are pretty much the same. Let's see if there's any differences. So, for mass, mass is simply the measure of the amount of matter in a body. Matter is anything that has volume and mass is classified as matter. Okay, this is wrong over here. No big deal. This is pretty close. I'll give them that one. No problem. Let's take a look at the second one. Mass cannot be seen, but over here, matter. Matter is visible. I don't know about you, but that kind of differentiates things, right? If something can be seen and another thing that's compared to it can't be seen, they're kind of not synonymous. Let's move on. Mass is usually measured in unit of kilogram. Matter is measured using different forms of units such as mass, volume, and weight. So clear difference there. Mass has different forms like active and passive gravitational mass. What the heck? As well as inertial mass. Matter is classified usually as liquid, gas, and solid. So huge difference there. Mass is always constant and never changes, whereas matter can change into a new product due to some chemical reaction. So clearly, and everyone knows this. I mean, even most of the brain-dead BallTARDs know this. The redneck retard apparently doesn't. That matter is not mass. They're not synonymous. They're not even close.
A mole it doesn't have anything to do with mass. It's just a number. A mole it doesn't have anything to do with mass. It's just a number.
No marbles. Mole doesn't have anything to do with mass. It's just a number. Wrong again. Hey, so 3, a number, is mole? How about 1, 7, 22, 64, 86? Are these moles? B. From the prestigious New York University, mass is a measurement of the amount of matter something contains. Ruh-roh, Shaggy. From Chemistry World, the mole became part of the International System of Units, the SI, in 1971. Currently, it is defined as the amount of substance that contains as many entities as there are in 0.012 kilograms of carbon-12. That's incorrect, but we're not concerned about that. You see this amount of substance that contains? The amount of matter something contains? These definitions are the same. The specified amount doesn't have anything to do with the fundamental nature of the definitions of each. They're both the amount of matter something contains. Like I said, just because a mole is specified amount of substance that contains doesn't nullify the fact that each mole and, per the Crayon Munchers, mass are entirely based on amount of matter or substance that something contains. Duh. Moreover, the above definitions are wrong, even his coming up with the amount of substance something contains. From the Royal Society of Chemistry, moreover, studies have shown that the amount of substance is often incorrectly identified with mass. So, no one can define mass. And mass and matter are not the same, clearly.
A mole is defined as 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd entities. A mole is defined as 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd entities.
Wrongo Rama. No marbles. Mole is defined as 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd entities. No, it's not. From Chemistry World. Mole contains exactly Avogadro's number of elementary entities. Not just entities. Not elephants. Elementary entities.
A mole is simply a quantity. And as I say, it could be a quantity of anything. We could have a mole of brines if we had enough space to put that many brines. A mole is simply a quantity. And as I say, it could be a quantity of anything. We could have a mole of brines if we had enough space to put that many brines.
You see what's going on here, folks, is he's just talking out his ass and making shit up. This is preposterous. No marbles. A mole is simply a quantity. And as I say, it can be a quantity of anything. We could have a mole of Bryans if we had enough space to put that many Bryans. Really, wrong. Like I just said, mole from Chemistry World contains exactly Avogadro's number of elementary entities. Is Brian an elementary entity, Sherlock? Like I said, just making shit up.
It's one of the fundamental laws of motion that Newton laid down. It's typically pretty much indisputed by either side of this argument. It's one of the fundamental laws of motion that Newton laid down. It's typically pretty much indisputed by either side of this argument.
Indisputed? Where'd you come from, the 17th century? No marbles. It's one of the fundamental laws of motion that Newton laid down. It's typically pretty much indisputed by either side of this argument. Wrong! Richard Feynman disputes it. Let's go over it again. The discovery of quantum mechanics first, and then in the behavior of light, and then in the behavior of matter, finally culminating in 1926 with a full equation of quantum mechanics, which told us that the laws of motion of Newton were not right. Let me say that again. The laws of motion of Newton were not right.
I'm not aware of Feynman ever saying there was any problem with Newton's three laws of motion. I'm not aware of Feynman ever saying there was any problem with Newton's three laws of motion.
Weren't aware of it. No marbles. I'm not aware of Feynman ever saying there was any problem with Newton's three laws of motion. Are you aware now? Let me say this again, Richard Feynman. The laws of motion of Newton were not right. You get it yet? Unbelievable. You know, what we got a case of is talking out your ass and making shit up. If you talk out of your ass and make shit up, you might be a redneck.
A third point is that if any object we drop, regardless of its mass, matter, if you want to say that, no matter how much matter it has, it will accelerate toward the ground at 9.8 meters per second in a vacuum. A third point is that if any object we drop, regardless of its mass, matter, if you want to say that, no matter how much matter it has, it will accelerate toward the ground at 9.8 meters per second in a vacuum.
No marbles. A third point is that any object we drop, regardless of its mass, matter, if you want to say that, unbelievable, no matter how much matter it has, it will accelerate toward the ground at 9.8 meters per second in a vacuum. Wrong! Times 3. Number one, there are no vacuums that is high, ultra high, or extremely high in nature. Therefore, this isn't science, natural science. Number 2, you've clumsily conflated mass and matter again. Number 3, if we create a vacuum, let's say 10 to the negative 6 torr, and release a gas, that is hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc., the gas will move freely and randomly at high speeds via every conceivable vector to fill that vacuum chamber. From the chemistry department at Purdue, particles in a gas vibrate and move freely at high speeds. So, going down in one vector is not moving freely, redneck. From sciencelearn.org, the atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids. They vibrate and move freely at high speeds. From education.victoria.gov, in gases, the particles move rapidly in all directions, frequently colliding with each other in the side of the container. All directions, i.e. all vectors. You have them going in one vector. That's a problem, because you just violated gas behavior, right? Unbelievable. Number 4, it's a violation of the entropy laws. That's the second law of thermodynamics. The limiting of vectors by delusional, double-speaking, Dunning-Kruger-Numpty dipshits such as yourself reduces the number of accessible microstates. Entropy in molecular thermodynamics is the change in a system or surroundings or their total from which there are fewer accessible microstates to one in which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. You have it reducing. This is increasing. This is from the entropysite.oxy.edu. This is a second law of thermodynamics violation you just postulated there, redneck. And by the way, so Arthur Eddington, if your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, which yours is, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. So, pummeled again. You'd not only fail 5th grade general science, you'd struggle in a 60-level basic reasoning course. For goodness sakes.
Yeah, at that point in time, I doubt Brian Cox or NASA would had it going through their mind that somebody was going to call their honesty into question. Yeah, at that point in time, I doubt Brian Cox or NASA would had it going through their mind that somebody was going to call their honesty into question.
No marbles. Yeah, at that point in time, I doubt Brian Cox or NASA would had it going through their mind that somebody was going to call their honesty into question. Number 1, so you can divine a complete numpty stranger, Brian Cox, and an organization's past thoughts? Really? Number 2, reification fallacy. NASA doesn't have a mind so as to afford you the opportunity to divine, I'm sure by redneck Evo mind powers, no doubt, their thoughts. Number 3, no, NASA corporately has ever deceived anyone, ever. Absolutely not.
Yes, in atmosphere, depending on the ratio of surface area to mass or to weight, if you want to think of it that way. Yes, in atmosphere, depending on the ratio of surface area to mass or to weight, if you want to think of it that way.
Still conflating mass and matter again. Or now he's doing mass and weight. We got the trifecta. No marbles. Yes. An atmosphere depending on the ratio of surface area to mass or to weight, if you want to think of it that way, whatever you want. Like I said, now the redneck retard is going from clumsily conflating mass with matter to currently conflating mass with weight. So mass equal matter equal weight. Right, hillbilly blue balls? Wrong. Define mass, numpty. Then define weight. Weight and mass are very different things, even in your mindlessly parroted fairy tale. From your alma mater wiki, in common usage, the mass of an object is often referred to as its weight, though these are in fact different concepts and quantities. In scientific context, whatever that is, mass is the amount of matter in an object, though matter may be difficult to define, whereas weight is the force exerted on an object by gravity. See, what these people do, right? They're always blaming flat earthers for just using the colloquial terms, but it's them. It's the BallTARDs that do that and then project that on us. Here's a shining example of exactly that, right? In common usage, the mass of an object is often referred to as weight, but that's wrong because they're different concepts and quantities. Unbelievable.
And the force you're speaking about is gravity, is it not?
Yes.
And the force you're speaking about is gravity, is it not?
Yes.
Huh. So gravity is a force. Let's go. Question. And the force you're speaking about is gravity, is it not? No marbles. Yes. Wrong. Again. You can't even mindlessly parrot the current pseudoscience. Gravity is not a force. Let's go through these again. From George Musser in Scientific American, Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides our modern understanding of gravity, with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. Slam dunk, right? Here's 12 of them. Caltech. Einstein came up with the theory of general relativity in 1915, the prototype of all modern gravitational theories. Its crucial ingredient involving a colossal intellectual jump is the concept of gravitation, not as a force, but as a manifestation of the curvature of space-time. I must have cherry-picked that, right? Friggin' bozos. Brian Cox. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. From George Musser again. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. From their alma mater wiki, gravity is most accurately described by the general theory of relativity proposed by Albert Einstein in 1915, which describes gravity not as a force. From the universe today in general relativity, gravity is not a force between masses. I guess that's cherry-picked, right? I guess further down in the article, it's going to tell us that gravity is a force between masses, right? You bozos don't know what cherry-picking is. We're going to go over that here during the presentation. I'm going to rub your noses in it. From the University of California, Riverside, strictly speaking, gravity is not a force. From phys.org, according to this theory, gravity is not a force. From New Scientist, so although Earth appears to be pulled towards the sun by gravity, there is no such force. From Phys Libra text, the answer is that gravitation is not a force between two objects. From the Physics Hypertext book, gravity isn't a force. From Joylyn Bluefield, Cornell University. So to summarize, general relativity says that matter bends spacetime, and the effect of that bending of spacetime is to create a generalized kind of force that acts on objects. Well, if we were to stop right there, then we'd think gravity was a force. But the next sentence, however, it isn't a force as such that acts on the object, but rather just the object following its geodesic path through space-time. So we got 12 or 13 cherry picks here telling you that gravity is not a force. Friggin' bozos. Questions, comments?
Yeah, while you were in the saying about these citations and stuff, people in the chat were saying cherry picking.
We're gonna get to that. Thanks.
Started more of these citations and stuff. Just still cherry picking.
Yeah, we're gonna go over it here in a little bit. You just made horses' asses out of yourselves, right? I can't wait. Yeah, thanks, Betty. Want me to pick?
Sounds like what you're saying is
You ignored
gravity
me
is
last time.
not a
before I start.
force.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. Adam, can you hear Chocolate?
Drop.
Hello, hello.
Adam, can you hear Chocolate, please?
He's
Just
dropped
dropped
and
and come
coming
back.
back, I think.
It's the
I
it's a
think
rinse and
Chocolate's-
repeat from last time. It's too funny. Let's have Adam go first. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay. I did make a few notes because there was just fundamentals you went through it. The first one was word superseded. Please understand these. Secondly, fundamentally, I think most of it mass. I don't know what mass is. If I'm being honest, I'm a chemist. It was weight. Thanks. But the one that I thought was the good exemplar of all of this nonsense, and maybe not with regards to creating your super low vacuum, your Brian Cox super chamber, instead of injecting gas, just putting one hydrogen in that molecule in there, and what would it do? So you remove the concept of gas. You've just got one molecule of it and a definition that has mass. What happens to that one? Not all of the stuff to support it. What happens to that? You release it. Where does it go? Does it head to the bottom and stay at the bottom, or does it on its own carry on behaving and demonstrating gas behavior? What does it do? But for me, that undoes that nonsense, all that supposition. You can cloud it with gas. Just one molecule for me clarifies it when I think of that.
Does Einsteinian work for more than one mass?
Yeah, say that one more time, Nathan.
Can you calculate more than one mass with Einsteinian's formula?
No, we're going to get to that here in a little bit. And what's mass?
Well, that's something I was going to bring Chocolate in, because earlier you were talking about his conflation between what Chocolate describes in Will Smith's words as old and busted versus the also debunked new hotness that is Einsteinian gravity. So he's conflating the two, despite the fact that I'll paraphrase, the laws of Newton were not right.
Yeah, the laws of motion were not right. Yeah, Richard Feynman. Yeah, he just didn't say it. Right? I can support with serious cowbell all those citations. Right? You got to understand, though, just for the audience, citation support is wonderful. But then the second layer is you better support what's in those citations, because anyone can say anything, even Richard Feynman. On its face, it's a baseless assertion fallacy, unless you got cowbell supporting those statements. And you know I can support each and every one of them. Right? But for brevity, I've already done it in the past. For brevity, we'll continue. But he just told you right up front, pretty positively, that the laws of motion of Newton were not right, because they're not. Period. End of story.
That's the quote. The laws of motion of Newton were not right, Richard Feynman.
Yep.
But basically, they were right within a certain frame of reference.
Wrong.
And then when you move beyond that, which is the more real world, the wider world.
Incorrect.
Then, of course, you bump into the obstacles that disprove it.
Incorrect.
It's like a very basic mechanism.
Incorrect. They're wrong. They can't be right and wrong. They're either right or wrong. They're wrong.
Okay.
Chocolate.
I just want to get it down according to all the citations you just read. So gravity is not a force?
Those are cherry picked.
Oh, those are cherry picked. Because I find it kind of to be some type of a mass delusion that these guys are going through. Like, this is their side saying that their nonsense is not a force, yet they come to us and tell us it is. It's so weird. I just don't get that shit, man.
No, because they're aligning with Newton, and I don't know how many times we got to tell you that all of Newton's laws are bunk. I just showed you, right? We know that Einstein isn't a force, for crying out loud. Come on, people. Anything else, Chocolate?
No. Sorry I got here late.
No, that's okay.
Good to be here.
That's okay. I'm used to it. Kaiser Soze, Robert Bassano, sir.
In the words of David Russell, we live in a Newtonian world of Einsteinian physics ruled by Frankenstein logic. End quote. End quote. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's a joke out there, folks, man. I'm telling you. And by the way,
he's British, by the way, David Russell. He's British. It's a Brit who said that. Ironic.
By the way, Hillbilly, if you're not keeping track, everything you said thus far has been wrong. That's got to be a record. I mean, do you think you're going to get away with this? I mean, maybe with the retards over on Jose Retard's channel, yeah, because they're dumber than you are. You haven't got anything right thus far. Wait till you see the rest of this. You can't recover. Bozo, the photosynthetic hillbilly blue balls, redneck retard. We're going to have to rename you after this. Betty, before we get started, any admin and any thoughts on your part on this fantastical train wreck of a disaster?
Nah, it's the same old, isn't it? Yes. But I do have some admin for you. I got 2 people that super chatted thus far, and Rob Kine. And he says, these trolls are relentless in their pursuit of proving us wrong. Thanks for being here, ballers. You're losing badly. The second one is from Flat Earth Data, and he says, if it is perspective that causes the junction of the sky and ground, then how is it Earth curvature? Thanks, QE and all. Welcome to Flat Earth. Sorry, I'm a little bit convoluted reading on my side.
That's okay. We got the message. Thank you, gentlemen. And you ain't seen anything yet. Here we go.
Why is it then that Albert Einstein, over 100 years ago, stopped calling gravity a force and he called it an effect due to the curvature of space-time by matter?
Well, it is. That's exactly what it is.
Why is it then that Albert Einstein, over 100 years ago, stopped calling gravity a force and he called it an effect due to the curvature of space-time by matter?
Well, it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. I thought everyone out in chat was saying that it was a force. So the first comment I brought forward for continuity, remember it started out with question, and the force you're speaking about is gravity, is it not? And he said yes. So this is following up. Question: why is it then that Albert Einstein over 100 years ago stopped calling gravity a force? He stopped calling gravity a force. You understand what stop means? Probably not. And he called it in effect due to the curvature of space-time by matter. No marbles. Well, it is. That's exactly what it is. So Hillbilly Blue Balls knows it's not a force. Wrong. Number 1, law of non-contradiction violation via the law of identity violation. Something can't be a force and a force at the same time. They're 2 mutually exclusive truths that you're holding at the same time. That's a law of non-contradiction violation via law of identity violation. Just that simple. This is second grade. Incoherent second graders would be rolling their eyes. My word.
It is the curvature of space-time. But Einstein did nothing more than add to Newton's theories. It is the curvature of space-time. But Einstein did nothing more than add to Newton's theories.
He did he? No marbles. It is the curvature of space-time, but Einstein did nothing more than add to Newton's theories. Wrong times 5. Number 1, non sequitur. You can't add a non-forced description to a forced description without invoking a slap in the face contradiction like we just went over above. Number 2, non sequitur again. Sir Isaac Newton never, ever even postulated, much less validated, a single scientific theory in his life. Number 3, actual scientific theories never, ever add anything to actual natural laws. Because if they did, then it wouldn't be a natural law anymore. Duh! Number 4, Albert Einstein never proposed an actual scientific theory in his life either. Number 5, as identified previously, all Newton's laws were superseded by Einstein. We wanted to go over it again from your alma mater wiki. Newton's classical mechanics, that includes everything, laws of motion, universal law of gravitation, were superseded in the early 20th century when Albert Einstein developed the special and general theory of relativity. Right? These aren't theories, by the way, not actual scientific theories. There are no hypotheses that have been validated. There's no experiments. That's why I said that. Do we need to go over what supersede means again? I'm not going to. I'm not going to insult some of the people out there, their intelligence out there. I'm not going to do it again. Crying out loud.
You take Einstein's equations, his field equations, at the weak field limits, you get exactly the same thing that Newton had.
You mean the weak gravitational field? You have yet to validate that. No marbles. If you take Einstein's equation, his field equations at the weak field limit, you get exactly the same thing that Newton had. I love your attention to excruciating detail here, redneck. Yes, and Liberace's grandmother was a Saudi prince and a Mau Mau fighter pilot. See, I can do that too. Wrong times approximately 10. Number 1, begging the question fallacy. Like I said, you invoke the gravitational field without demonstrating or scientifically validating gravity. You numbskull. Number 2, Newtonian. Now, I say Newtonian so everyone can recognize the juxtaposition. However, in actuality, it's the Reverend John Michel Cavendish C.V. Boy's gravity. Just want everyone to understand that. I'm going to show you that here in a few minutes. But I digress. Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are mutually exclusive. A, Newtonian gravity is a force, whereas Einsteinian gravity is not a force. B, Newtonian, the law of superposition applies. Einsteinian, the law of superposition does not apply. I'll go over that here in a second. C, they're not even in the same geometry, for crying out loud. Newtonian gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity speaks to pseudo-Riemannian 4 space. You need some more? Newtonian gravity is instantaneous actions at a distance. Einsteinian gravity is limited to the speed of light. Just with those, drunken sailors and field goal posts have more in common than Newton's and Einstein's fairy tales. And, ass clown, there are no known solutions for any of Einstein's field equations for 2 or more masses. Right? This isn't even science, but just on a common sense level, right? There are no known solutions for any of Einstein's field equations for two or more masses. Let me ask you something. In your paradigm, ballers, when you look up in the night sky on a clear night and you see all those lights up there, are there more than two? If there are, you can't use any of Einstein's field equations. For goodness sakes. From your alma mater wiki, as the field equations are nonlinear, we'll get back to that, they cannot always be completely solved without making approximations. For example, there is no known complete solution for a space-time with two massive bodies in it. So everyone knows this. Everyone knows it. It's in print. It's deducible from his formulas. P.S. You see that nonlinear phrase up yonder? That means the law of superposition does not hold. That means you can't arbitrarily add additional masses to any of his field equations. Therefore, Einstein's field equations describe a universe with only one mass or a completely empty frigging universe. I'm not joking. Unbelievable. P.S. number 2, like I said previously or implied, just like there are no married bachelors, there are no scientific theory equations. For goodness sakes, people. Please post an equation, a scientific theory equation for us. I want to see it. Numpties, man. And another tiny little problem. This is one of my favorites. From Warwick University in the UK. The problem is that the equations, that is Einstein's field equations, require the energy and momentum to be defined precisely at every space-time point, which contradicts the uncertainty principle for quantum states. This is not just a problem at high energies or short distances. It is a conceptual incompatibility that applies in every lab. Oh boy, the tangled webs you weave. This is what you get for parroting pseudoscience. I don't even think you're see, in most cases, you're not even parroting, right? You're parroting from one of your other BallTARD compadres that just made the shit up. But you didn't go back and check him to make sure he's not an idiot. This is what's happening here. Because you're talking out your ass and you're making shit up, right? If you do that, then you might be a redneck.
Newton described what was observable. He described he described it as a force, and he was uncomfortable about what caused that. He had no explanation for why masses appear to attract each other with a force. And Newton stepped away from making any comments about the cause of it. He actually said, "I'll leave that to my readers." Well, one of his readers was Einstein. Einstein came along and said, "Okay, I can tell you why this is happening." Newton described what was observable. He described he described it as a force, and he was uncomfortable about what caused that. He had no explanation for why masses appear to attract each other with a force. And Newton stepped away from making any comments about the cause of it. He actually said, "I'll leave that to my readers." Well, one of his readers was Einstein. Einstein came along and said, "Okay, I can tell you why this is happening."
Gotta love that. No marbles. Newton described what was observable. He described it as a force, and he was uncomfortable about what caused that. Really? He had no explanations for why masses appeared to attract each other with a force. Newton stepped away from making any comments about the cause of it. He actually said, "I'll leave that to my readers." Well, one of Einstein's readers was Einstein. Einstein came along and said, okay, I can tell you why this is happening. Wrong! Number one, you, Newton, or anyone else has ever defined or will ever define mass. Number two, scientific theories never, ever explain laws. That's descriptions, you tosser. That's a big problem, see, with rednecks. You don't understand the difference between explanations and descriptions. Explanations deal with hows and whys, and descriptions deal with what's and is's. Okay? Because if Einstein caused and affected Newton's law, then it wouldn't have been a law anymore, like I discussed previously. Caveat, Newton never proposed a natural law for gravity, and Einstein never proposed an actual scientific theory of gravity. This is all moot, nonsensical, poppycock bollocks. Number three, Newton stepped away from gravity in total. In a letter to Dr. Richard Bentley on February 25th, 1692, from Stanford and Schur and Dubrock, "'Tis inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without mediation of something else which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must be if gravitation, in the sense of Epicurus, be essential and inherent in it. And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me. That gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum without mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into." Right? So he left gravity. So don't ascribe it to him. He didn't want you to, and he told you. Now for this last paragraph we're going to deal with. Gravity must be caused by an agent, acting constantly according to certain laws. But whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left to consideration of my readers. You said Newton stepped away from making any comments about the cause of gravity. Nuh-uh. He said it right here. Gravity must be caused by an agent. So wrong. He actually said, this is what you said. He actually said, I'll leave that to my readers. That's wrong. So, like I said, Sir Isaac Newton clearly stated the cause was an agent. Right here. Gravity must be caused by an agent. Right? That means intelligent agent. What he left to his readers was whether God, he's talking about the creator here, was material or immaterial. See? Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws. Here's the important part. But whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left to the consideration of my readers. Right? Do you understand that Newton wrote more on the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel than he did in all of physics? Do you know that? He's talking about a creator here. What he left to his readers to figure out was that creator material or immaterial. You not only have a below zero science acumen and no critical thinking skills to speak of, your reading comprehension skills are pathetically woeful. And I just showed it step by step. This is a joke. You should be embarrassed. I know you're not. You think you can get out of this? Oh boy. This isn't even the beginning yet.
It manifests itself as a force in 3-dimension space, but in 4-dimension space-time, it is an acceleration. It is the bending of space-time. It manifests itself as a force in 3-dimension space, but in 4-dimension space-time, it is an acceleration. It is the bending of space-time.
No marbles. Gravity, manifests itself as a force in 3-dimension space, but in 4-dimension space-time, it is an acceleration. It is the bending of space-time. Yes, and dark matter is created from nothing by luminescent gerbils. You see, I can do that same thing. Unbelievable. Number 1, begging the question fallacy, conjure, gravity. There is no scientific evidence for this fairy tale ever. Number 2, gravity, a concept, manifests itself. Is it some kind of apparition? Reification fallacy. Number 3, apparently you've graduated from the Incoherent Slobbering Academy at Numpty Rumpy U. You understand that you're postulating 2 different worlds or realities here, bonehead. A 3-dimension space and in a 4-dimension space-time? Huh? Are you mainlining psilocybin under power lines with a grandpa's cough medicine chaser? Where's the other world at? Where's this 4-dimension space-time world at? Unbelievable. Circle jerk alert.
Because every molecule of gas is being subjected to an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second toward the Earth. Because every molecule of gas is being subjected to an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second toward the Earth.
Really? No marbles. Every molecule of gas is being subjected to an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second toward the Earth. We already went over this, the same nonsense, so I'll just provide the same answer again. Wrong. 1, violation of gas behavior. Gases move freely and randomly at high speeds via every conceivable vector. You said per second toward the Earth. That's only one vector. From the chemistry department at Purdue, particles in a gas vibrate and move freely at high speeds. Right? Moving freely, that is every conceivable vector. You only got one vector toward the Earth. From sciencelearn.org, the atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids. They vibrate and move freely at high speeds. Again, moving freely, not just one vector. This one just comes out and says it straight up. From victoria.gov, in gases, the particles move rapidly in all directions. All vectors. You have only one vector toward the Earth, toward the ground bullshit. You're finished. It's over right there. We'll pile on. Violation of the laws or the entropy laws or second law of thermodynamics. The limiting of vectors by delusional double-speaking Dunning-Kruger numpty dipshits, such as yourself, reduces the number of accessible microstates. When the definition of entropy in molecular thermodynamics is the change in a system or surroundings or their total, from which there are fewer accessible microstates to one for which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. See, reduces, you're holding that it reduces. This says increased. It's a contradiction. And by the way, Sir Arthur Eddington again, if your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, which yours is, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. Pummeled again! You'd not only fail 5th grade general science, you'd struggle in a 60-level basic reasoning course. Check this out.
We measure the rate that things fall. Is that how we determine the gravitational constant?
No, that's not how the gravitational constant was arrived at. That's not how you can derive or measure the gravitational constant. You can't derive it in the first place. It had to be measured. Still has to be measured. How
is it measured, though?
It's a product of our inconvenient set of units that we choose to use. If we'd picked something other than meters and kilograms and so forth, could have come up with a completely different constant. But it's a constant of proportionality. How is it measured? That's what Cavendish did.
We measure the rate that things fall. Is that how we determine the gravitational constant?
No, that's not how the gravitational constant was arrived at. That's not how you can derive or measure the gravitational constant. You can't derive it in the first place. It had to be measured. Still has to be measured.
How is it measured, though?
It's a product of our inconvenient set of units that we choose to use. If we'd picked something other than meters and kilograms and so forth, could have come up with a completely different constant, but it's a constant of proportionality. How is it measured? That's what Cavendish did.
That's what Cavendish did. So Cavendish came up with the gravitational constant? Really? Well, that sounded really good. Wrong. Cavendish didn't calculate a numerical value for big G or M. From the Michelle Cavendish experiment, Laurent Hodges, Department of Physics and Astronomy, Iowa State University. Let's read some of this before we get to the punchline. Recently, I was preparing notes on the gravitational interaction for an introductory calculus level physics course at Iowa State University. I became curious as to how Cavendish expressed his results. Did he give a numerical value for G or for M? How accurate was his value? And in what units did he express his result? Not finding an answer to these questions, alarm bells, in any of the textbooks that I checked, I decided to read Cavendish's original paper in the Philosophical Transactions for 1798, a copy of which resides in our library. Yeah, one resides in my library too there, Laurent. Cavendish's paper did not disappoint me in this respect. There were 3 major surprises awaiting me. Listen up. First, Cavendish did not determine either G or M. He determined the average density of the Earth. I got another question here. If density equals mass over volume, and he didn't calculate mass, how can you find density? That's a rhetorical question. He not only didn't know the mass, whatever that is, because no one can define it, he didn't have the volume either. So how can you find it? Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. So, just bottom line, Cavendish didn't calculate anything to do with big G. He's just talking out of his ass and making shit up. That's because that's who he is. And that's what he does.
Cavendish measured, actually what Cavendish was doing was not coming up with a gravitational constant. Cavendish came up with the mass of the weight of the Earth. He was looking to determine what the mass, the weight of the Earth is. Cavendish measured, actually what Cavendish was doing was not coming up with a gravitational constant. Cavendish came up with the mass of the weight of the Earth. He was looking to determine what the mass, the weight of the Earth is.
He was, huh? No marbles. Cavendish came up with the mass, the weight of the Earth. Wrong! Well, which one? So does mass equal matter equal weight? Still hillbilly blue balls. How about neither? From what we just read from Laurent Hodges. First, Cavendish did not determine either G or M. He determined the average density of the Earth. We just went over this, right? You're just making this up. But you're saying it with conviction like you know. You parroted this nonsense from another baller who knows where he got it from. You didn't do your due diligence or scrutiny. You've been saying this for the past year. All this nonsense. You're exposed. You can't recover from this. This is hilarious. It's going to get better.
As a byproduct of that, once you have that, you can then go backwards and figure out what the gravitational constant had to be. It wasn't a hard thing to do. He did it really by ratios. You consider 3 separate bodies. You consider in the Cavendish experiment, he had some large weights. He had some little small weights on his balance, on his torsion balance. And then the big weight is the weight of the Earth. Okay.
The big weight is the weight of the Earth.
as a byproduct of that, once you have that, you can then go backwards and figure out what the gravitational constant had to be. It wasn't a hard thing to do. He did it really by ratios. You consider three separate bodies. You consider in the Cavendish experiment, he had some large weights. He had some little small weights on his balance, on his torsion balance. And then the big weight is the weight of the Earth. Okay.
No marbles. He considered three separate bodies. In the Cavendish experiment, Number one, three separate bodies. Who? Mo, Larry, and Curly? You're an imbecile. Number two, Cavendish never performed an experiment. He didn't have a viable independent or dependent variable. You know, Brian asked you about 5 times, I didn't put it in this presentation, 5 times that there is no gravity. There is no scientific evidence for gravity. There is no hypothesis or hypothesis test. Everyone can go back and listen to it. You just went stone cold silent each time he asked you that. And then just diverted. Just making this shit up, man. You're busted. This is a tear-jerking belly laugher. Here we go.
Newton's law of gravitation says F is equal to G, that's the gravitational constant, times M1 times another mass, any other mass, M2, divided by the square of the distance between the centers of those masses. Newton's law of gravitation says F is equal to G, that's the gravitational constant, times M1 times another mass, any other mass, M2, divided by the square of the distance between the centers of those masses.
Yeah. No marbles. Newton's law of gravitation says that F equals big G times M1 times M2 divided by the distance squared. Wrong! What's Newton's law? You can ask any BallTARD. You're invariably going to get what he just said. He's just parroting this stuff, right? What you're going to get is what he just said. The force of gravity is big G M1 times M2 divided by the radius squared or distance squared. That's not Newton's equation. Hello? This is. The force of gravity is proportional to M1 times M2 divided by the distance squared. Yeah, where's big G at? It's not in here. It's not in the Principia. This big G is C.V. Boy's, Charles Vernon Boy's little edition in 1894. Which was 207 friggin' years after the Principia was published and 167 years after Newton's death. Big G, like I said, Newton's universal law of gravitation was published in the Principia July 5th, 1687. This was the equation I showed you. You see Big G in here, pretender clowns? Huh? My word. You stumble over this every single time.
Brian, we are getting tied up in a lot of semantics here. Brian, we are getting tied up in a lot of semantics here.
Really? A lot of semantics. No marbles. Brian, we are getting tied up in a lot of semantics here. Yeah. Words, they mean things. Redneck retard. It's called semantics. It's the foundation of the Socratic Method. Heard of it? I mean, not even talking about science here, just basic common sense. For people to communicate with each other, you have to define terms. Because if you're conversating with one person and you're talking about an amoeba and they're thinking about an orangutan, well, you're going to have a difficult time, not even then, but you can't move on downstream. It's just going to get frustrating because you're talking about two different things. This is a well done. You think this semantics thing is like a savior or something. You just parrot it, right? The parrotings. Here they are. Here are the ballers' saving graces for anything. You got 5 of them. Gravity. Refraction. Cherry picking. semantics. You don't understand. That's it. That's your whole philosophy. That's all of your epistemology right there. Right? So back to semantics, the Socratic Method. From Webster's New College Dictionary, 5th edition. A method of teaching or discussion, like that used by Socrates, in which by means of a series of questions and answers, the logical soundness of a definition is tested. The meaning of a concept examined. Of course you do that. This method right here, this Socratic method, protects the innocent, ignorant, and preserves the integrity of the message from delusional, double-speaking, Dunning-Kruger numpty dipshits, which you have proven to be, see the entire presentation above and to what's going to come below, who just make shit up. Getting into the science component of this, Anne-Marie Helmenstein, PhD biomedical sciences. Words have precise meanings in science. Listen, anyone that has an actual science degree knows this is absolute fact. If I had a nickel for every time I was told accuracy and precision, I would have been a millionaire. I got sick of it. You know, after about 30 to 40 times, I was like, stop, I get it. Precision, accuracy, precise. Even Dr. Mary Schweitzer, a friggin' pseudoscientist, knows this is apodictic indubitable. Dr. Mary Schweitzer, paleontologist, North Carolina State. Exactly. That's one of the things I drive my students crazy on. Words count. Words are important. Choose your words carefully, Mr. Magoo. For goodness sakes. Oh, this is funny.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions about the two videos you made that you termed. I just want to get the exact terminology you put onto the heading of the videos. Did you call them both gas pressure without a container? Was that in the title?
Yeah.
Yeah, gas pressure without a container. Okay, I want to ask a few questions about those, because the both of them were basically identical things, identical investigations or demonstrations, but one was done with a longer pipe outside and one was done inside in your workshop or whatever.
Brian, let me stop you right there. This is an ambush and you know it.
Outside, one was done inside in your workshop or whatever.
Brian, let me stop you right there. This is an ambush and you know it.
This is an ambush. Yeah, he's ambushing you because you're fresh off your thesis defense. Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, proven gas pressure without a container by showing up with 2 containers of gas pressure. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, folks. I mean, what in the world were you thinking? You see this? Let me show you this. I got arrows here for you. See these arrows pointing to this closed container that's filled with butane, which is gas pressure? This is a closed container. Do you get that? This is preposterous ludicrousness absurdity, sir. This is tantamount to attempting to disprove the existence of dogs by showing up and broadcasting live from a blue tick coonhound kennel. Preposterous! This is ridiculous, sir. This ain't the worst of it.
Gas pressure is gas pressure.
Gas pressure is gas pressure, but that's not atmospheric pressure.
What?
Gas pressure is gas pressure.
Gas pressure is gas pressure, but that's not atmospheric pressure.
That's what I told you, folks. That's what it has come down to now. These ballers have been bludgeoned for over 4 years now with the gas law and the second law of thermodynamics. That their last port in the storm is to say that there is a difference between atmospheric pressure and gas pressure. I'm not kidding you. No marbles. Gas pressure is gas pressure, but that's not atmospheric pressure. You see, the atmosphere exerts pressure, right? Gas pressure. Why? Well, atmo means air. Air is equal to gas. You see the connection here? So atmospheric pressure equals air pressure equals gas pressure. Therefore, when you clumsily attempt to differentiate atmospheric pressure from gas pressure, you immediately violate the law of identity. You're a dipshit. In other words, let's try another explanation. I'll try another angle. Atmospheric pressure and gas pressure are the same. Atmo equal air. Air is gas. Gas pressure is air pressure. Therefore, atmo, which is air, spheric, which it should say, pressure is gas pressure because air is gas and atmo's air. P.S. To have gas or air pressure, you must have a container, by the way. Next block of instruction, how to say the on Tuesday afternoons. Oh, here we go. I'm going to comment through this.
There was atmospheric pressure inside the pipe. The pipe was open.
Okay. What does atmo mean?
What does atmo mean?
Yes.
You don't know what atmo means? Or you?
I do.
Yeah,
I know what it means. Don't play games around. Just go on with.
Let's go, please. Let's try to kind of.
I'm not.
Wait, Brian. It's important, but if you're gonna ask a question of an answer that you know, there's not gonna be nothing that we're gonna learn new. If
yeah, there is. What we're gonna learn new is if the redneck knows what he's talking about. It's called a test. We're going to see what he knows. Why are you interrupting this? Huh? Everyone knows you're retarded, right? Listen, if we need some sandwiches or something to drink, we'll go ahead and signal your slobber nurses, right? They can police you up and you can help carry the sandwiches and drinks over. Other than that, you need to go back in the corner with your crayons, start munching them with the dunce cap on. You're a clown. You're compromising yourself, as usual.
you don't know what an answer to a question is, then ask it. But if you know the answer, why to play these little gotcha moments? Let's try to really try to progress and move on, please.
It's not a gotcha moment. We're testing his knowledge of the subject area. This happens constantly, millions of times each day. You're a bumbling idiot.
Okay, right, fair enough, right. Okay, I won't ask questions to things that I already know. Okay, atmo means air. Air is a gas. The whole atmosphere is made of gases. Is that true or is that false?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Then you're screwed. If atmo means air and air is gas, then atmospheric pressure is gas pressure. An incoherent second grader can reconcile this in less than 2 seconds. Not you, though.
Okay. So before butane was added to the pipe, there was already gases, pressurized gases inside and outside that pipe. Would you agree?
No, I would not.
No, you're not. What in the world is going on here? So you're saying atmospheric pressure is not gas pressure? I don't think that blue tick coonhound's gonna hunt, sir. Wow.
Why not?
Those were not pressurized gases. There was atmospheric pressure in the open pipe. That's not pressurized gas.
The atmosphere is made of gases. So atmospheric pressure is gas pressure. For fuck's sake!
You just said pressure, atmospheric pressure. You just said pressure.
Atmospheric pressure and pressurized gas are not the same thing.
Unbelievable, folks. What can you say to this? I don't know. You go ahead. You can talk amongst yourselves. This is ludicrous absurdity.
Yes, it is exactly the same.
I'm sorry, sir. They're not.
Well, if atmo means air, and air is a gas made up of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon monoxide, and argon, which are 4 gases, and then you have all the other gases in the atmosphere. I mean, atmospheric pressure is gas pressure, air pressure, gas. It all
Duh.
falls under the umbrella term of gas pressure.
Blue, before you
Oh
answer
no, here we go. We got the incoherent Jose Goebbels retard coming in again. We didn't ask you for any sandwiches or something to drink. We don't need you in here. It's stupid enough as it is.
Me as the moderator today, I am allowing this to happen, Brian. But I don't know if you have watched my previous shows, but I have already.
Yeah. When we get bored and we want to laugh and roll our eyes, we go watch your show because you're morons. Jose Goebbels,
stop this in this track and other times. Like, for example, I see Montreal a few days ago. I say, you're not going to come in with the same meme asking gas pressure.
Meme? You think it's a meme? Atmosphere? Atmo means air. Air is a gas. Gas pressure is atmospheric pressure. Simple. You trying to come in and save them? My word.
Next to a vacuum, because everybody already knows, the difference between gas pressure and atmospheric pressure.
Oh, they do. Well, illuminate us. Elucidate the answer for us there, Crayon Muncher.
Now, because you haven't been in this show for a long time, and I don't know if you watched the show.
No, we only watch the show, like I said, when we get bored, right? And we need a good laugh, and we want to roll our eyes. Everyone that fogs a mirror knows that, except you guys.
Letting it go, but everybody knows that this is kind of a dull point that.
Whoa! What? This is a dull point? A dull point? That is a contradiction in terms to begin with. How is atmospheric pressure, gas pressure, a dull point? What does that even mean?
Has been explained 1,000 times, maybe more. That's why I'm allowing you to continue.
So the difference between atmospheric pressure and gas pressure has been explained 1,000 times, huh? Well, go ahead. Go ahead and explain it, Mr. 1,000 times. A bonehead.
You're piloting this little meme, and that's my
He calls it a meme.
biased point of view as a moderator.
Your biased point of view. Thank you for admitting that. We already know that. We had it from the teaser, but we're going to get it here in a few minutes. We'll have to go over it again.
Today, I just needed to let that out. People have already heard this question asked many times and being addressed and answered very eloquently. So,
very eloquently. Wow, that's $1,000 word. Did you steal that from one of your slobber nurses? Eloquently. So you've explained, someone has explained eloquently that atmospheric pressure is different from gas pressure. Really? You can't make this stuff up, folks.
I'm just allowing it to happen now.
Oh, well, thank you, Jose Goebbels. We appreciate that. Now go back and sit down in the damn corner like I told you.
Just because. Why not, I'll mute myself.
You should have been on mute the whole damn time.
Okay. Well, I would obviously disagree with it supposedly being answered. But I'll just move on. Okay. So there was gases that had pressure in them, pressurized gases inside and outside the pipe. Would you agree with that, Blue? Before you added the butane.
Negative.
Why?
Nope, he's not going to agree with you because atmospheric pressure and gas pressure are different, Brian.
I do not agree with that.
Well,
the open pipe had atmospheric pressure in it, both sides of it. The outside of the pipe and the inside of the pipe had atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, gas pressure. That's what atmospheric pressure is. Because atmo means air. Air is a gas. That is gas pressure. My word. Listen to this.
I like Brian. How ironic! Look, I like Brian. How ironic! Look, the little. I like Brian. How ironic! Look, the little. I like Brian. How ironic! Look, the little NASA. I like Brian. How ironic! Look, I like Brian. How ironic! Look, the little NASA symbol in the
Stop!
corner. I like it.
Huey, stop!
Yeah, no,
What the hell? is
they
that,
have some
dude?
good stuff.
What the hell is that?
Stop. Let me play the whole thing. Shut up.
I like Brian. How ironic! Look, the little NASA symbol in the corner. I like it.
Yeah, no, they have some good stuff.
Just some good stuff, right? Whatever you can quote mine and cherry pick. I got you.
Yeah. I got you, clown show. So, Jose Retard. I like Brian, how I really glue isota. I like Brian, how I really glue isota. What the hell is that? Little NASA symbol in the corner. I like it. Ha ha ha. Just some good stuff, right? Whatever you can quote mine and cherry pick. This is where I said I was going to get into this. Number one, innuendo fallacy by a full-on illiterate retard. Number two, numpty tautology. Quote mining is cherry picking. Duh. Numpty ballers have no clue what it is. None. What they did was they got this little charade from the evolutionists, because this is one of the biggest things that evolutionists can fall back on is cherry picking. That's all they do. Cherry picking. They got it from, they just incorporated it into their fairy tale. Listen, this is cherry picking. I'm going to go through this slowly for you, okay? Let's see if you can get it. Cherry picking, suppressing evidence, or the fallacy of incomplete evidence is an informal fallacy where selected evidence is presented that supports the position of a single argument, while contrary evidence is withheld or omitted. Right? Pretty self-explanatory. I think everyone can understand that. It's reasonable, right? You see, the crayon-munching clowns take a practice that is begacking cherry picking employed by the media, politicians, business and advertising, and pseudoscience. Then, out of context, oh, the irony, feebly and clumsily superimpose it on actual scientific discourse. Then, when the Crayola munchers get backed into a corner, which happens quick, even by Joe Coffey and Betty Breadbreaker nowadays, while being bludgeoned to death with the business end of a baseball bat, they all of a sudden last port in the storm gas, God, cherry picking, right? You think that saves you? You see, it's absolutely impossible to cherry pick from actual scientific literature because it's empirically proven phenomena. The only way that you can possibly cherry pick, the only way the opportunity can even be afforded is within a document or reference. Listen closely, is if there is more than one conclusion within the exact same topic. Let me say that again. The only way that somebody can possibly cherry pick, the only way the scenario could even be afforded, is that within a document or reference, is if there is more than one conclusion within the exact same topic. If this is the case, the document is contradictory, not empirical, not scientifically valid to begin with. Boneheads. You don't know what this word even means, what the phrase means. You have no idea. You just cherry pick. You're freaking morons. Oh, I know. I was wondering why this was here. The only time I've been out here for almost 4 years, it'll be 4 years in 2 weeks. The only time I've ever seen one of these ballers cite or support the bullshit that flows out of their pie holes was one time. Rumpus. Guess what he cited? What you're looking at right here. Joyland Bloomfield, PhD physics. He cited this, right? What he did was he actually cherry picked. The only time I ever seen one of these guys do it, and he textbook cherry picked. You know what he did? He only cited this sentence. He didn't cite the second sentence. Check this out. He was arguing that gravity was a force, and this is what he did. So this is from Joyland Bluefield, PhD physics from Cornell University. So to summarize, general relativity says that matter bends space-time, and the effect of that bending of space-time is to create a generalized kind of force that acts on objects. Full stop, right? He had this citation in here, and he was going on and on about how Einstein gravity was a force, but what he didn't post was the next sentence. However, it isn't a force as such that acts on objects, but rather just an object following the geodesic path through spacetime. You guys are freaking bozos, right? We all know it. Anyone that can fog a mirror that is looking at this from the outside, that is coming into this discussion and trying to evaluate both sides, you're losing. Newsflash. They know you're bozos. Number 4, I toe tagged Mr. Daft Numpty here, Jose Goebbels, illiterate, with this exact topic nearly a year ago. I put it down in the description. Here, hold on a second. Let me show you what it is. Where'd you go? Yeah, this one right here. Nearly a year ago for the exact same offense. What did you think? That we forgot about it? You retard. Right? You just don't, you can't learn. It's not that you don't, you can't. So, numpty retard Jose Goebbels, to support your slobbering diarrhea of the mouth, fallacious, mindless claim here, please support it by the only way possible, showing exactly within the same document how Brian cherry-picked the conclusions from the NASA diagram on gas pressure. That's what he was talking about. Brian pulled up. Everyone's familiar with the diagram with NASA and gas pressure. I don't have it here. You know what I'm talking about. So, freaking Jose, yeah, anything you could freaking quote mine or cherry pick. You have to show where it was mined or cherry picked, which is the same thing. If not, if you can't support that, then you're a certified village idiot spouting baseless assertions with every breath. Everyone knows this. They haven't told you because they're being nice, I'll tell you. You're an idiot. P.S. All you cherry-picking clowns. If this is new to you, / just reckon with this well-duh explanation, then one of 4 scenarios are at play here. Number 1, you haven't recently graduated high school. Or number 2, you graduated high school recently, but you bribed the teachers. Number 3, you have never, ever attended university. Or number 4, you have a degree, but you bribed the university faculty. That's it. That's all we got here, folks. Questions, comments?
Are you done yet?
Yeah, I'm done with this. I'm done with this section.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, but totally legitimate. I think Betty wanted to do a few super chat shoutouts.
We'll get to
Betty?
that. Just relax. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's start with Adam. Your take, Adam?
A lot of points, but I think one, I've listened, as Jose was saying, that it being discussed, the difference between gas pressure and atmospheric pressure. And as a chemist, I think I've got a summary for you, QE.
Go ahead.
Faith.
Go ahead, Adam.
Faith. The way I would summarize a difference.
Faith in which one?
Faith in a ball. It's the only reason you can try to fundamentally differentiate the two like that, because you have to. As soon as you start to accept that it is actually the same thing.
Faith. No, that's not even blind faith. That's contradictory, incoherent gibberish between atmospheric and gas pressure. When atmo means air and air is a gas, it's gas pressure. It's over.
No. The words are flexible in the faith of the glory of the ball.
Oh, brother. Let's keep on. Let's keep coherent.
You got any more, Adam?
I think there was a lot of stuff that was repeated, to be fair, again. So I'd reiterate the need for the understanding of the word superseded. I really liked the end of the understanding you gave towards that, and I'd fully support you in terms of the literature that Newton wrote. But in terms of his quotation there, yeah, really great insight, John, because it never made sense, that bit to me, from it just being a physical continuation, to take it into spiritual and leave it to the viewer listener there, really puts that into context, particularly with the first bit of the line. He states it's not material, as of course time is material. So I think it's quite clear, but I'd always struggled with the end of that, John. That was a really valid point. Like I said, totally back up. He was a great exponent of history and culture. So one final point, and that's the bit I think you played at the beginning, but I'm glad, well, I want to reiterate it. That was in terms of went off with Brian making a point again with the Atmo issue. They jumped in there. The Socratic debate, first thing, and as rightly demonstrated by the following debate, it was crucial to stop all that nonsense. Brian's intelligent enough, and that's why he asked, stop nonsense so you could progress in a sensible manner. Brian tried to do. I was a bit disappointed to hear, particularly when Billy Blue Balls followed up with the exact similar thing as a retort. I do think if people are going forward and having these debates with ballers, then it is not being churlish. It's really important, because, as you see, they easily steer the conversation to a distraction point where atmospheric pressure has nothing to do with gas pressure. Over.
Thanks, Adam. Nathan, sir.
Well, I'll go in reverse order of the scribbly notes I've made. So the last point that I scribbled down was in regards to the citation that was cherry-picked by Rumpus. Now, I'm going to ask this as a question because I can't remember, it was a fair while back, but correct me if I'm wrong. Was that citation on screen with a full hangout and an audience, and nobody mentioned it?
Yes.
Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Yes.
I thought so. So he had it written on screen for them to read, presented to a live audience. Nobody mentioned a thing, that it literally contradicted itself. I mean, cherry picking could be, a paragraph later. If the piece had a completely contradictory statement later on, you could be accused of cherry picking. But in that example, it was literally the next sentence, and it was on screen. Nobody called him on it. Just wanted to mention that. Next thing I was going to say, Hillbilly Blue Balls, while you were giving the presentation, you explained about the butane canister being a closed system. But one of the points I've made to Hillbilly before is that the laws of entropy are absolute, and with enough time, so being proportional with entropy, the canister eventually will succumb to entropy and open up, and the gas will all leak out. Furthermore, the pipe that the gas is contained in for his claim of gas pressure without a container, so the container he's using to demonstrate that, again, with enough time, will decay and to the ground it came from. And so will the house and the driveway, and basically everything in the photograph you presented will eventually succumb to entropy. Not just the gas in his pipe, everything in the picture. So there's a couple of other things, but that was, I don't know if you want to say yes or something, and I'll move on. Nope. Okay, the other thing was just a question. So QE said, one resides in my library, when you were talking about the specifics of the Cavendish experiment and a copy that they had in a specific university. Did you just mean that you got a copy of it on your computer, or have you got it like in a frame in a vault, or what's the score?
No, I got it right here on my computer. Yes, I got it.
Okay. Second to last point. So we were talking about being very careful with your words and being specific. And correct me if I'm wrong, you cited Mary the pseudoscientist, paleontologist, right?
Yes.
I love it. Nothing like a hostile witness. That just made me chuckle. I just wanted to note that. But she was saying, be careful with your words. But the guy was saying, if your theory is not in line with the second law of thermodynamics, then you're in bad shape. Presumably, though, he's saying theory in the colloquial. In other words, he's saying if your ideas aren't in line with the second law of thermodynamics, right? He's scientific.
No. He's saying no. He's not using it colloquially. Heck, no. He's talking about a scientific theory.
Your theory would be scientifically validated, and therefore, how could it possibly be not in line with that?
Exactly. He doesn't know what a scientific theory is.
That's kind of what I was saying. That was it.
Yeah.
The only other thing was to say that, yeah, from what you've obviously demonstrated, I don't watch Jose at all, but when you've got a winning argument, or when Brian's logic had a winning argument, essentially it's described as cherry picking or essentially completely suppressed. We all know already that gas pressure and atmospheric pressure are different. Well, you were highlighting it by saying, well, let's hear you explain why. You know, you were hinting at this, but essentially it's just closing down that line of attack by the host. And at the start of this show, you pointed out that it's like, so long as you say it's a completely fair platform, you know, so long as you've got the guy tied up and you're saying, look, it's perfectly reasonable that I'm whipping you. This is fair. You know, that's kind of the order of the day, right? Just say it's reasonable and then everyone will nod along.
Yeah, it's preposterous. I don't know who does he think he's fooling, right? It's just like I said, and then you say, well, there's a debunking video. I say it says debunked. Yeah. Well, I could title anything. I could put moose crap. That doesn't mean anything. Give me some cowbell, some substance. Show the debunking or the validation. My word. Is that all you had, Nathan, for that part?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Kaiser Sose. I'll tell you what. I'll put you on mute.
Look, man, you are arguing with fucking rocks. I start throwing them. That's all I gotta say. Start throwing the rocks, man. Don't stand at the edge of the pond saying you want to skip stones and you're afraid to pick one up and throw it. Just pick it up and throw it. See how far it goes.
Wait till you see the next section. You ain't seen any. You ain't seen anything yet.
Is it going?
Is that all you got? Is that all you got, Robert?
Yeah, that's a good nap, man. That's a good nap.
Thanks, Robert. Robert, put a cork in it. Put a cork in it, sir.
Woken up again with nonsense.
Well, listen, what do you want me to do? This is one of the BallTARD brain trusts. This is who they follow.
I don't believe you, QE. I can't believe it.
I'm telling you.
No, it's not true.
It is true.
It's impossible.
Yep. This is him.
No.
Okay.
I refuse to believe it. No, but maybe he thinks he is.
John, let me paint a picture for you, John.
That the people out
Hold
there
on, one at a time, please.
Believe that.
Let me paint a picture for you, John.
Quickly.
This guy, if you're saying that everyone follows this guy, then take this to consideration. He's a bleeding, wounded shepherd guiding a flock of sheep. Who do you think the wolf's going to attack first? The sheep or the wounded, bloody shepherd?
I'm attacking him. I'm the wolf.
Okay, then devour it and move on to the salad, please.
Go ahead, Arwen. Quickly, please. Don't
Okay, yes. Suicidal fantasist boomer. So caught up in their own imagination, they're willing to go any length to whatever end, with whatever means. That's it.
Thanks. Chocolate.
I would just say, like, along with Robert, I wouldn't say it's really arguing with rocks. It's arguing with these idiots and showing that they are as dumb as rocks. I think that's closer to what it is, because if you just listen to this is the most I've ever heard of this hillbilly guy, and it's just a joke. He just sounds like he's just making things up as he speaks, and it's pretty pathetic. And to double down on the pathetic, Jose, that's a pretty pathetic attempt to dissuade the conversation when you're trying to get terms down. You're trying to define terms, and you come in with, "Oh, we don't do that here." No, what the fuck? Yeah, that's garbage. And yeah, but it's a good diversion to making these guys define that. I mean, atmosphere is air, air's gas. I mean, this is sad, and this whole thing is sad. Like, this guy is ridiculous. Quantum. I don't even know what else to say.
Oh, just wait. You ain't heard anything yet.
Please no more. Almost like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
To any length, to any degree of insanity.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, let's
You
do
will
it.
make believe whatever you can.
Yeah, it's coming. We're going to
down.
get there.
Before we go back, you go back to the insanity, there was a point at the beginning then, I missed it because I did want to ask you to elaborate a little bit, because I'm going to grasp it, but it's where you were talking about Einstein's theories, placement of matter and its effective bending of space-time, and I suppose the mechanics of Einstein's theories and their incompatibility with quantum mechanics with regards to uncertainty.
Exactly.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of the superseding of Newton with Einstein, that actually the two models are incompatible. What really is the battering of Einstein is that the mechanics is proven by experiment. Its postulations are incompatible with what Einstein's saying.
Yes.
Flat up better.
Yes, what we're trying to do is, see, it goes stepwise. It goes from Newtonian to Einsteinian and then quantum mechanics. So we're trying to get them to parrot the correct pseudoscience. So we're trying to get them to parrot Einstein and then clobber the bejesus out of them when they do. But it's like we're battling through the hedgerows to get them to parrot the right pseudoscience so we can club the right pseudoscience.
You can't have an uncertainty principle in pseudo-Riemannian force space.
No, it's on the surface, train wreck.
It's a bugger, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The tangled webs they weave.
One more thing.
Okay.
Favorite thing that I've seen in all this presentation, if we once more, is tosser.
Tosser. I had to throw that in, man. Yeah. Your favorite thing. Yeah, it's not going to be your favorite. The next one's going to be your favorite because it's mine. I'm just bubbling over, trying to get there, but you guys won't let me. All right, so let's finish off. Betty, any thoughts and any admin before we continue?
Wow. Really?
Yeah, you.
My God. 40 freaking minutes of listening to you, and now I finally get to people. Wow. I'm kind of late with a couple of these chats now.
That's okay.
Nah, I like it more when it's the time is there, right?
They're still here.
I got one from Rocky Alive, and he says, "This is for those who think they need to call me out in their shoes for my beliefs. QE is almost ace. and then he said in the chat, he said, yeah, it's shows, not shoes. And he said in another super chat, the next one, above super chat was show, was show, not show. And Betty, you know what I need. I don't know what he needs, but I think that he wants me to say stupid again.
Yes.
And then we got Brian's logic, and he said, I appreciate the things I learned from QE and Nathan, even if ballers don't like it. And gravity, mass, and buoyancy are not real. Not real with capitals. Thank you. And then Rakia live again, and he says, as Blue Marble, how many flags are missing, and is a pipe and container?
Thanks, Rock.
And then we got another super chat from Eagle Plane and Anchor, and that's a sticker, and it's a sort of a punching fox, I think. I think that might be representing you, maybe.
Thanks, Eagle. Appreciate it, Matt. And Rakia, is that all, Betty?
Yeah, I think that Rakia wants me to say that QE is stupid.
Hey!
Yeah, I think that he wants me to say that, but yeah. It might get you a super chat again, so maybe.
Rakia, put a cork in it. Go nest. Here we go. Wait, this my favorite section. I have an encore. I don't know what's better, this or the. We're gonna get to this here right after this comment right here. I don't know what's the best, that or the encore. I'll leave it up to the audience. Let's roll.
Brian, but a gas pressure requires, to have pressurized gas, you have to have a sealed container.
Yes,
it has to be sealed.
Agree.
If the container is not sealed, you cannot have gas pressure. That would defy the gas laws. Brian, but a gas pressure requires, to have pressurized gas, you have to have a sealed container.
Yes,
it has to be sealed.
Agree.
If the container is not sealed, you cannot have gas pressure. That would defy the gas laws.
Yeah, really. Well, we're waiting.
Oh God.
Go ahead and post the gas laws, so as to support what you just said. He said to have pressurized gas, you have to have a sealed container. Yeah, we're right. We're waiting. Although we don't ever get anything, right? No marbles again. If the container is not sealed, you cannot have gas pressure. That would defy the gas laws. Wrong. You got to understand something. This redneck retard for the past 8 months has this whole gas pressure container thing wrong because of one citation. And you're looking at it right now. From sciencelearn.org. Let me go through it. The atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids. They vibrate and move freely at high speeds. A gas will fill any container, but if the container is not sealed, the gas will escape. See what he said up here? If the container is not sealed, you cannot have gas pressure. That's not what this says. It says if the container is not sealed, the gas will escape, meaning there was gas in it before that and it had pressure. This is so mind-numbing. He got hedgerowed by one word. Will. He doesn't understand what will means. If you don't understand what will means, then you might be a redneck. Let me explain this to you. Will for the window licker. It's a modal verb expressing the future tense. Will. That means it will escape. Not that you cannot have gas pressure temporarily. The gas will escape because it will increase its entropy. So just to let everyone know, this is his Huckleberry, man. He doesn't know what will means. Just wanted to boil it down for you. Friggin' bozo. If you thought all the above was a knee-slapping, tear-jerking belly laugher, then somebody hold the redneck retard's beer. Here we go.
You know what I mean?
Where do we get oxygen from?
Oxygen comes from trees and plants and stuff, and they use carbon.
Yeah, they use carbon dioxide. How much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere?
You know what I mean?
Where do we get oxygen from?
Oxygen comes from trees and plants and stuff, and they use carbon.
Yeah, they use carbon dioxide. How much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere?
Brian, you beautiful bastard, you. When I first started listening to this, I said, oh, is he going to stop right there? Are they going to divert away from the topic? You didn't. Thank you. We're going to get to that here in a few seconds. No marbles. Where do we get oxygen from? How much CO2 is in the atmosphere? Can you please explain to us, hillbilly retard, what the CO2 content of the atmosphere has to do with where we get oxygen from? Can you explain that to us? Folks, let me tell you something, boy. I'm just bubbling. I'm bubbling over. I was there when Brian was saying, I was praying, thank you, please continue, please go. Because he's going to start talking out his ass and making shit up, because that's what he is and that's what he does. Let's continue.
I don't know the exact amount. It doesn't matter. The point is that they use, they create.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it does matter. It does matter. There's 400 parts per million. 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide.
All right. He's telling you why it matters. He's telling you why it matters, Brian. Listen, please.
You're the one that brought the red herring. I'm just going to straighten it out for you. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 400 parts per million. The amount of oxygen is 21%. That's why it matters.
I don't know the exact amount. It doesn't matter. The point is that they use, they create.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it does matter. It does matter. There's 400 parts per million. 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide.
All right. He's telling you why it matters. He's telling you why it matters, Brian. Listen, please.
You're the one that brought the red herring. I'm just going to straighten it out for you. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 400 parts per million. The amount of oxygen is 21%. That's why it matters.
Question, why does it matter? No marbles. You're the one who brought up the red herring. I'm just going to straighten it out for you. The amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is 400 parts per million. The amount of oxygen is 21%. Number one, wouldn't it be somewhat coherent, hillbilly blue balls, to use the same units of measure when comparing? Wouldn't that make some sense to you? I mean, percent, this isn't a unit of measure anyway, percentage, right? Please, I want to see in dimensional analysis the percentage in parts per million reconciled. What a joke. Most importantly, though, the question was why? Why does it matter, right? That requires an explanation, the hows and whys. You merely gave the what's and is's. You merely described it again. Therefore, it's a non sequitur fallacy. This is just you didn't answer it. You didn't give a why. You gave a what is. Thanks for straightening things out for us. The photosynthetic redneck. Unbelievable. Here comes the part, man. This is what I've been waiting for all night. You ready? We're going to go slow like molasses in the wintertime with this. This is the quintessential example of talking out your ass, making shit up, because that's who you are and that's what you do.
And the carbon dioxide that the plants are using to generate oxygen is only 400 parts per million. And the carbon dioxide that the plants are using to generate oxygen is only 400 parts per million.
That's why he's called the photosynthetic redneck retard. I love this. Like I said, we're going to take our time. No marbles. The CO2 the plants are using to generate oxygen is only 400 parts per million. I could really care less about this last part, just this first part. The CO2 the plants are using to generate oxygen. Oh, really? Freaking wrong-o-rama, photosynthetic redneck. You see, plants don't use CO2, carbon dioxide, to generate oxygen. All the oxygen generated or liberated comes from splitting of water by photosystem 2 during light-dependent reactions. I love this. I'm gonna waller in it. Because this is the quintessential example, folks, of talking out your ass and making shit up. We knew this 80 freaking years ago. 80 years ago, we knew this. Let me say this again. Excuse me. Plants don't use CO2 to generate oxygen. All the oxygen generated or liberated comes from the splitting of water by photosystem 2 during light-dependent reactions. So every one of your appeals to this juxtaposition of parts per million and ratios is poppycock bollocks. That's what it is. You just made it up, right? How you like me now? From Dillard Richard, Photosynthesis, Molecular Biology and Biochemistry via Wiki, Hill's finding, that's Robin Hill, by the way. Hill's finding was that the origin of oxygen in photosynthesis is water, not carbon dioxide. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember in Intro to Biology whether it was day one. It wasn't. It probably wasn't. We probably went over eukaryote animal cells. That's what we probably first started out with. But, as of week 2, everyone knew this, right? Because this is one of those big questions, like how are we breathing? They didn't get into the biochemistry of it at that point, but the Robin Hill was brought up, right? To show that, no, it's not CO2. Did you know that plants can make oxygen, liberate oxygen with the complete absence of CO2? With no CO2, plants can liberate oxygen. Do you know that? Hillbilly retard, the photosynthetic redneck. That's your name from now on, sir. I love this. I absolutely love it. It shows what a pretender clown, delusional one, double speaking, making shit up, dipshit that you are. Sorry. I'm sorry to say it, but this is over. You're done. So laugh it up, funny boy.
Yeah, but they don't need a whole lot of carbon to. They can produce several times the amount of oxygen just for one unit of carbon.
He's right. He is exactly right, funny boy.
Yes, that's what they do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the balance we have.
Exactly.
Come on now, Brian.
That's true. Look into, read up on it, Blue.
You cannot seriously expect me to respond to that.
Yeah, we know you ain't going to respond to it because you got caught making shit up. Now, you fooled everyone in the hangout. I was loving it. I was sitting there, please, more. Brian, I love you. Let's listen to it again.
Yeah, but they don't need a whole lot of carbon to. They can produce several times the amount of oxygen just for one unit of carbon. Yes, that's what they do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the balance we have.
Come on now, Brian.
That's true. Look into, read up on it, Blue.
You cannot seriously expect me to respond to that.
Thank the Lord. Like I said, laugh it up, funny boy. Ha 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 ha. Come on now, Brian. You can't seriously expect me to respond to that. Yeah. Listen closely. Hillbilly Blue Balls, a.k.a. the photosynthetic retard. You cannot and will not ever recover from just this. not even speaking to the encyclopedic, megalithic, rolling, never-ending colossal train wreck of a pretender clown delusional numpty dipshit disaster with every single prior response, see everything above, you didn't get anything right, that dribbled out of that incoherent pie hole of yours. There's a better chance of Liberace, Pocahontas, and Socrates being resurrected, entangled with the mane of Alexander the Great's horse, Philadelphia experiment style, sipping pina coladas at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, than your imbecilic redneck of a retard, numpty dipshitedness surviving this thrashing of epic proportions. How you like me now, sunshine? Laugh it up some more, funny boy.
They don't need the same amount of carbon to create the amount of oxygen we have.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, how can we have the imbalance then, Blue?
Pardon me?
This is not something I'm making up or something off the top of my head. How would we have such a different balance of amounts of oxygen and carbon?
You're
No, hang on, no, don't laugh at me. Hang on a second. Don't condescend me. I'm asking you a valid question. I said to you that the plants and trees and stuff, they don't use as much carbon as they pump out. Like the amount of carbon they use in connection to the amount of oxygen they release. They release a lot more oxygen than the carbon they use. And you're laughing at me for saying that.
Yep, that's what he's doing. He's laughing at you, Brian, because he's a first-class pretender clown, right? He just got busted. You're finished. It's over for you. But you know what's going to happen, right? You're going to whistle past this like nothing happened, like Professor Phil Bellin did, right? Just whistle right past this, pretend like nothing happened, right? We're just going to sit back and laugh at you, right? I'm sending this personally to the Congressional Library with your name on it for posterity. What a clown. And then your response? Here's your response to that.
carbon dioxide. What is that? Carbon dioxide. What is that?
That's your response. Carbon dioxide. What is that? You're still on the CO2 and oxygen thing, right? And by the way, Jose Goebbels, he just asked a question that he clearly knew the answer to, and you didn't. You're not tripping over your clown shoes to stop him. Why is that? Why is that you stopped Brian as soon as he asked a question that Brian knew the answer to? You just tripped over your clown shoes, stopped the whole damn discussion to admonish Brian not to do that. Hillbilly Blue Balls, the photosynthetic retard, just did the same thing. Where you at? Right? Remember this?
Okay. What does atmo mean?
What does atmo mean?
Yes.
You don't know what atmo means? Or you?
I do.
Yeah,
I know what it means. Don't play games, Brian. Just go on with
yeah, let's go, please. Let's try.
Yeah, there you are. Stopping Brian, right? You got a fair platform, don't you? In nonsensical buffoonery.
To kind of,
I'm not.
wait, Brian. It's important, but if you're gonna ask a question of an answer that you know, there's.
Just shut up. We're moving on. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of listening to your dumbass. Yeah, you got a fair platform, all right.
Carbon dioxide. It's a gas.
Yeah. Made up of what?
He just did it again. Jose. Where are you? Carbon dioxide made up of what? The photosynthetic retard. He knows the answer to the question, where are you? Nowhere to be found.
I'm not sure. I don't know what it's made up of. It's gas. It's a type of gas.
Okay.
That's used by plants and trees.
Let's move on.
Carbon dioxide. It's a gas.
Yeah. Made up of what?
I'm not sure. I don't know what it's made up of. It's gas. It's a type of gas
Okay.
that's used by plants and trees.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we're going to move on, all right. Think you can recover from this? I would really like to know. I want you to come in the hangout and defend this. That's what I want you to do. Be a man. Be a photosynthetic redneck and come in this hangout and defend this nonsense. Now, speaking to his thesis defense of gas pressure without a container, then showing up with 2 pressurized gas containers, right? We're going to get into some of this stuff. Just hold on. We only have a couple sections left. Okay? Hang in there.
Why did you not use helium instead of butane?
Well, you need a gas that will produce a differential enough that you can measure the pressure gradient, and that was the entire intent.
And did you know that sorry, go on.
I could have used helium I suppose if I had wanted to, just turn the damn pipe upside down.
And did you know that the butane would stay in the pipe?
Yeah, I was very sure it would.
And is that because you knew that the butane was and is a heavier, more dense gas than air?
Well, I knew 2 things. I knew the butane is about twice the density of air, and I knew that when I subject that to the acceleration of gravity, it's not going to leave the pipe. At least it won't leave the pipe very quickly.
Yeah, but in relative density equilibrium terms, it won't be leaving. Entropy won't take place with that butane, especially in a thin pipe like that. Entropy won't be taking place for. It could be in there for. It could have butane in there for a couple of weeks. I don't know how long it would take for all that butane. Maybe less than that. Maybe more. I don't know. I don't know the amount, but I know that it would take time for that butane to leave the pipe.
Yep. Still laughing it up, eh, funny boy? Question, why did you not use helium instead of butane? No marbles. Well, you need a gas that will produce a differential enough that you can measure a pressure gradient. Question, a gas pressure gradient or an atmospheric pressure gradient? Okay, there's 3 of them. Okay, Mr. Photosynthetic Redneck, that was one. Here's the second one. Check this out. Let this marinate.
Yet,
you knew that the butane was denser, was a more dense gas than the air that was already inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Brian, and I forgot what I was going to say at this point. Yeah, the butane is heavier. No question about that. It's heavier not because of relative density. It's heavier because of relative density. No, well, it's heavier because it's more dense.
Did you catch that? Try it again.
Yet,
you knew that the butane was denser, was a more dense gas than the air that was already inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Brian, and I forgot what I was going to say at this point. Yeah, the butane is heavier. No question about that. It's heavier not because of relative density. It's heavier because of relative density. No, well, it's heavier because it's more dense.
Do I even have to say anything here? I will. No marbles. The butane is heavier, no question about that. It's heavier not because of relative density. It's heavier because it's more dense. I don't need to do anything here. I could just leave that. I'm just going to leave this right here. You've done my work for me. This sells itself. Just going to leave it. Let it marinate. Let's listen to it again. The butane is heavier, no question about that. It's heavier not because of relative density. It's heavier because it's more dense. More dense than what? And would that be relative? Let this marinate, folks. Read through this. Ballers. The photosynthetic redneck is one of your BallTARD brain trusts, and he just said this. Say this to yourself over and over again. Unbelievable. Last one.
If that thing were to obey, forget about entropy. If that thing were to obey the gas laws, that pressure should have left immediately. It should have gone to atmospheric pressure immediately. If that thing were to obey, forget about entropy. If that thing were to obey the gas laws, that pressure should have left immediately. It should have gone to atmospheric pressure immediately.
Really? No marbles. If that thing were to obey, forget about entropy. Really? If that thing were to obey the gas laws, that pressure would have left immediately. It should have gone to atmospheric pressure immediately. Wrong times 4. Number 1, forget about entropy. Isn't gas leaving a container increasing entropy? Number 2, forget about entropy again. Don't the gas laws follow in accordance with the entropy laws? That is the second law of thermodynamics. Isn't the second law of thermodynamics the father? Number 3, since, according to you, atmospheric pressure and gas pressure are different, how could the butane have left the pipe to become atmospheric pressure and the interior of the pipe gone to atmospheric pressure from gas pressure? Can you riddle me that, redneck? My word. Number 4, who says that the denser butane in the bottom of the 1/4 inch, 30-foot long pipe would leave the pipe immediately? Who says that? Besides you, who just made it up. You just pulled it out your ass. Because that's what you are. That's what you do. No one says that. Back to your Huckleberry. ScienceLearn.org. The atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids. They vibrate and move freely at high speeds. A gas will fill any container, but if the container is not sealed, the gas will escape. Where does it say immediately in here? It doesn't. You just made it up because you don't understand what the word will means. Because you're a photosynthetic redneck. That's why. Yep. I'm not going to go over the definition of will again. Ask one of your slobber nurses. I have an idea. Instead of your 1/4 inch, 30-foot long pipe, let's use a 12-foot diameter, 2-foot tall pipe. Let's try that. What do you think will happen to the butane then? You delusional, double-speaking, Dunning-Kruger, numpty dipshit of epic proportions. That's not an ad hom. I have backed that up with over 2 hours of nonsensical buffoonery. You didn't get anything right. Not a single thing, Mr. Photosynthetic Redneck. It's absolutely shocking. We still have the encore. Oh, it's peaking down. Don't let me forget that. Comments, questions, quickly.
Oh my God.
We're all dazzling here with all the blatancy of it all.
Adam, you can go first, sir.
Oh, John. I mean, part of me wants to go through every little bit of nonsense that was just spouted and take it apart. It's very rare I am using it in the way you guys. This is retarded. Just been listening to. It's beyond response.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'd just like to say I love Westlife. On you, Brian.
Arwen, thoughts?
It's the thoughts elude me after all that. I've been kind of wallowing in the background, just trying to sit through it. Like, oh God, oh really? He did that? Oh, You know, I'm kind of used to it. I'm used to it thanks to the flat Earth debates. You know, when the ballers really come in and do their double think thing. But this is just beyond that. It's like this megalomaniacal fantasist idiot. Just incredible how it comes together like that.
Thank you, Chocolate.
Yo, shout out to Brian for just murdering this cat on this point that he thought he had, and then just Brian turning it completely around on him. And his response to that was amazing, because you could hear he had no idea what the hell he was talking about. And when Brian questioned him on that, it was, oh, let's move on. Yeah, let's move on, bro. I mean, like you said, John, it just speaks for itself, man. I can't even say anything after that. I mean, what was the line? It's heavier not because of relative density. It's heavier because it's more dense. Really?
Stop it!
I had to, man. I had to.
It's too much. It's blown my mind.
Are you kidding?
I'm
on, man.
numbified by the idiocy. It's just,
but I want to say this because I'll keep you short. I gotta go. I am a little proud of him because it sounds like he was describing how inside that pipe was gas pressure and the gas pressure gradient. So it kind of sounds like he's realized that a pipe is a container. So kudos to you, bro. Because yeah, a pipe is a container, and now that you've caught up to that, you have two containers in your videos for gas pressure without a container, and that's just delusional. I'm sure you know.
He's just gonna wave past that gradually.
I don't care.
Just let it slide.
Okay, I don't talk to you. So anyway, yeah. So kudos to you. It's a container. A pipe is a container. So congratulations. Yeah.
Are you gonna leave?
I'm done.
You're gonna leave? You're gonna miss the encore? It's very short.
You got more?
It's very short. The encore is very short.
All right, I'll listen, but I can't. I won't be able to speak.
Okay,
go.
good enough. Kaiser Sose.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew it.
Look, man, you don't want to throw rocks with me on the ponds. Throw some rocks. I just came back.
All right, that's it. Thank you. Nathan Oakley, sir.
I think this speaks a lot to the audience. They're clearly just looking for confirmation bias of their global religion when they go to people like this, because if it wasn't for the very deep-seated programming that everybody receives, surely they'd recognise the doublespeak with sentences like that. I mean, Chocolate's gone over it already, but if you can't hear that as being fundamental doublespeak, then there's really no hope for you. And like I say, if it wasn't for the fact that they were all brainwashed and simply looking to affirm their brainwashing, you'd have no appeal, because it just sounds stupid. And it does beg a belief. I know Robert's saying you're dealing with rocks, and we are, but by the same time, they're rocks that are affirming a fundamental belief in a sphere. Therefore, they've got an audience, and it retard.
Thank you, sir. Betty.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want? Thoughts and any admin?
Yeah, you had me listen to the guy already, which took away the fun for now, of course, because I know much of it already. Yeah, but I got some super chats for you. One is from Ricky Alive, and it's a sort of a continuation on the first things that we had. And he said, "Oh, Betty, you know what I needed? Calling QE stupid, earner, you're another 50. FYI, I would have paid more. LOL.
Yeah, I bet
Ricky.
you would, Dave. Put a cork in it.
And you have one from GK, and he says, I'm enjoying this way too much. So people are enjoying it.
Well, yeah, because it's also a learning exercise. Also, we could take advantage of his incoherent canvas and learn from it. There's a lot of good information in here, right?
An incoherent canvas.
Yeah, his incoherent canvas. I'm making a Rembrandt.
More like a Picasso.
Picasso, yeah.
Can I do a plug after the encore? I don't want to do it now.
Do it after the encore, because I know that's what you're staying for. I didn't tell you what it was. No one knows what it is.
Yeah, exactly. The encore. After the encore, though.
Yeah. I didn't even tell Betty about the encore.
Oh, goodies.
And ironically, we're going to get to the encore right now. This encore came from your show in the chat yesterday. I just decided to go ahead and listen to the video, and what do you know? The redneck retard, now the photosynthetic redneck, posted a comment in your chat. Guess what it said? There it is. Blue Marble Science, aka No Marbles, aka now the photosynthetic redneck. Entropy is a law? ? Really? Laughing. Sir, good night. From theentropylaw.com, the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy law, or the law of entropy, was formulated in the middle of the last century by Clausius and Thomson. From hyperphysics.edu, second law, entropy. Second law of thermodynamics, in any cyclic process, the entropy will either increase or remain the same. From Science Direct, the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics introduces a new property called entropy, S, which is an extensive property of a system. From NASA, the second law state that there exists a useful state variable called entropy, S. From the University of Texas, Chemistry 301, the second law of thermodynamics states that any process that happens spontaneously will lead to an increase in the entropy of the universe. Where have we heard that before? And finally, from study.com, John Simmons, PhD Physiology, second law of thermodynamics, law of entropy. If you would have said water is made from H2O, ? Really? ? Laughing emoji, it would have been less embarrassing for you. To call you scientifically illiterate would be a grave insult to actual science illiterate, sir. This is you. The Redneck Olympics. Bobbing for pork bellies. That 2.5 that Jeff is giving you, that's your frigging IQ. In fact, I think he's highballing. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
Kudos. Excellent demolition of complete nonsense from Hillbilly Blue Balls.
Let's go with final thoughts because I think everything has been said. So we'll start at the top. Let's go with Arwen.
Yeah, my ears are still ringing from all the bombardment, completely shattering anything that was supposedly left standing on the globe side, with their flimsy defenses and their megalomaniacal courage. that doesn't really lead anywhere, yet they keep on going. And this guy is the new champion that'll go any length, apparently, into doublethink and complete blatant nonsense. But as long as they believe it, they can keep on going with it, like that torch going into Helm's Deep to explode themselves to try and blow up that wall. But yeah, in reality, that's never going to work. It only works in their fantasy, and it's tragic, really, at the end.
Thank you, sir. Kaiser Zoze. Robert Bassano, wake the heck up.
Yeah. I just started to write a white paper for the New England Journal of Medicine. The adverse side effects of shaking kill. It's now this guy.
We missed that. Shaking what?
He's actually, that's the adverse side effects of shaken baby syndrome and eating roadkill. It's this guy. It's this guy. He is definitely going to redefine medicine, because I really thought that, maybe just a one cell organism was not too smart, but he don't even have one cell in his brain to even figure it out. He asked about entropy. If it's a law, that did it for me.
That did it for you. I was done back at the first comment.
No, I know. I mean, that really did it. I know. Baby.
Yeah,
he really does.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I'm still, because I love the biochemistry of photosynthesis, so I'm still back there. That's why his new name is the photosynthetic retard. But this, I don't know, would have to go for a vote. What's stupider? His CO2, his oxygen liberation from CO2 in photosynthesis, or entropy? Is it a law? I don't know. For me, it's the photosynthesis, but that's just me.
Well, taught
definitely
you a lesson.
entropy.
Yeah, definitely taught you a lesson. Don't eat roadkill. It's bad for the brain.
Hey, Kiwi, I want to get back at you for a second about that, okay? Yeah, plants also produce their own CO2. So, your claim concerning that, maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't go there. The entropy thing is much more idiotic. Let's just go with that.
Thank you, Adam Meakin.
Yeah. Did Billy Balls demonstrate tonight? Demonstrated for me, I like very well that whatever topic he's talking about, he has fundamental lack of understanding of the science he's about to quote. In most cases, get that understanding, it contradicts his point. It's hard to respond to a lot of it because it would involve a 60-minute lecture on each point, because he's fundamentally, each point he's addressing is so incorrect. It's odd to know whether that's out of just complete ignorance, or what we see with a lot of them, by deceptive reasons. That he's not as dumb as he's making out. He's just trying to maintain a narrative. The only way you can do that in the face of obvious facts is to lie, unfortunately. I don't know, liar or dumb. But
thank you, Adam. Nathan Oakley, sir, take us home.
I kind of know the backstory to that comment about entropy and laughy face. Is this a law? And it's a misunderstanding from slightly more superior obfuscators, shall we say, when they try to assert that the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth. And their justification for such is to say that the second law is described with the utilization of this terminology for an isolated system, so that you can simplify the law and explain it and educate the masses with what the second law of thermodynamics actually is and does and how it operates. In so doing, in so describing this law of nature applicable always and simplifying it to this isolated system, they then assert that it only applies to an isolated system. Now, the fact that their globe Earth system is not only not isolated, but not even closed, entirely open to the vacuum, they need some ham-handed way of obfuscating the fact that the second law of thermodynamics, a law of nature, applies to this scenario where we have a sky vacuum and a spinning ball Earth at pressure. So to assert that entropy and the second law of thermodynamics are not the same, and the description that gives you the gas filling the space is the second law of thermodynamics, only applicable to isolated systems, and the Earth isn't said isolated system. Well, that obfuscation is beyond the grasp of hillbilly blue balls. Therefore, he's just said in his summary, in his comment, entropy? What? A law? Really? Well, clearly, yeah, leave that one to the slightly better double speakers, I would say. They're, you fundy moron. Yeah, it's a law. Anyway, I've been spamming the chat. There's going to be a brand new Flat Earth debate, uncut and after show going out on my second channel. That's Nathan Oakley. So I have been spamming the chat. Be here or be sphere. I'll see you in the live chat. Hopefully everyone who's watching this show will work their way over. If you're not already, go into the chat, hit the link once the show's done. Starts in about 10 minutes from now. Thank you very much, Quantum Eraser. That was an excellent summary. And while it took a while, as Adam very eloquently pointed out, it's not the easiest thing to unpack complete nonsense doublespeak when it's padded with what seems to the very untrained ear as being coherent. You've got to unpack it, and it takes a long time. And, you know, I'm here actually not just to plug my show later, although be here, be sphere. It's because I read through your presentation, and I was quite aghast at how much effort you put into pulling apart this nonsense. And as I read through it, I'm like, you know, you've left no stone unturned. You've done an exceptional job of unpacking somebody that people do follow. And there will be a certain number of people who did think that what he said was excellent. And, you know, I will get commenters, or would have done had you not done this show, had commenters coming into the Flat Earth debate chat saying things like, oh, did you see Brian's logic get completely obliterated? You're like, well, no, we didn't. In fact, we heard a lot of nonsense doublespeak from a fundy idiot who couldn't grasp a lot of the things he was describing and contradicted himself in every second breath. But unless that's pointed out to the majority of the idiots, they'll just think he's won. So, you know, this is a necessary evil, and it does take a huge amount of work. So, you know, everybody who's supporting the channel, thank you very much indeed. You know, it's a worthy thing to support, because I know how much work Quantum Eraser's put into this. And yeah, it's extensive, but it's required, regardless of how thick-headed and stupid some of the claims he's made were. And while it might be obvious to some, they might have heard it and rolled their eyes also. I think there is enough people out there that literally will have come away from that thinking Brian did badly and Hillbilly Blue Balls did well, and it just simply isn't the case. So I'm very grateful for your dissection. I certainly wouldn't ever go to anything like that amount of effort. My 5-minute dissection of one point that somebody's made against me is about as much you get out of me. This absolutely comprehensive annihilation of Hillbilly Blue Balls, you know, deserves a good round of applause, and I'm glad you've got a lot of support from your audience for doing it. So thank you very much for everyone who's watching. And yeah, just one last plug to my show. It's going out in about 10 minutes. Be here or be sphere, Flat Earth debate, uncut and after show on the Nathan Oakley channel 10 minutes from now after this live stream finishes.
Thank you, Nathan.
Wow. Just
go ahead,
Adam.
Adam.
Yeah, just a bit of smoke. Nathan said that he wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And what I'm giving a lot of credit, shit, you know, but people recognize, please, the level of knowledge that it requires to take that double speak apart. And it takes some time. That'd take me about a month to get that shit apart.
There's only one proper word for it, Adam. There's only one proper word. It's called tenacity.
And respect, John, for it, mate. I'll give you full respect. That was, take that apart with that level of citations and knowledge. Second, that, you know, they play, it did go on a bit though.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Cheers.
Tenacity, fortitude, chocolate milk, lots of good stuff.
Chocolate milk, you got that right. Hey, I really appreciate that, guys. Betty.
Yep.
Final thoughts? Any final thoughts you have, and any admin, and then we're going to round out quickly.
Yeah, the final thoughts. I think that Nathan summarized beautifully. I can't do that like he did. So yeah, great job. I think that it was a great show. Lots of trolls in the chat. People being muted and stuff.
Yeah, this Hugo guy kept on spamming.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. But there were also a couple of super chats, and I got two new ones for you. One from Rakia Live, and he said, "Can't afford a cork. Spent all my money on super chats. Blue balls all over FE now." He says. And we got Dank, and he sends a heart. So.
Oh, that was nice. See, Rakia, you should follow Dank's example. Just go on mute and start nesting, for crying out loud.
He says 4 more hours in the chat now.
Can't do 4 more hours. Yeah, so that's it. Let's wrap it up, Betty.
Good.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Now, listen. The photosynthetic redneck. This was bad. You cannot recover from this, sir. Like I told you. I mean, you can try. I know you're going to be out here tonight. You know, whistle right past the graveyard. I got it. You guys all do it, right? But this is going to be on record. So anyone can come back. Anytime they hear your voice, they'll immediately recognize it, by the way. They can just come back and post this video and say, you're finished. There's nothing you could do. The only reason why I did it is because you're out here pontificating and postulating, you know, from this retard altar you guys got going on here. You're the religious ones. You're the numpties, right? And I showed that comprehensively. Thanks to all my guests, beautiful Betty Van Velsen. Take no prisoners. No quarter will be asked. None shall be given. And remember, I'll be back.